Hey guys, it's Stephanie with Simarchy, and welcome to part 3 of Let's Build featuring the Lamb family. If you've missed part 1, that is when I created the Lamb family, which consisted of a mother, a father, 2 teenage daughters, and a youngest son. And in part 2, I started building their home, which is basically what you see now. I only got as far as sort of the exterior goes. I haven't done anything on the inside yet or any landscaping. So that's pretty much what you're going to see in this video. This is a slow build, which is much different than the speed builds I usually do. That means this is in real time, and that means it's going to be a lot longer. Therefore, I had to split it up into several parts, but you get to see the entire build process that I do personally, from creating a family to creating a customized home for their needs. Now, this part is going to be the landscaping and probably just laying out the inside so it doesn't get too long. But so far, I built this home, which is probably going to end up being, I would say 4 bedrooms and probably around 3 bathrooms, just to make sure that everyone's covered. And we've got 3 parking spaces to the right, which is our driveway. I didn't build a garage because this is a fairly small home for a 30 by 30 lot. I didn't want to have a garage take up much needed space, and it's easier to park 3 cars. But we're definitely going to need the 3 parking spaces since the 2 daughters are teenagers. They're probably going to learn to drive soon. And yeah, I mean, we could probably use more, but that's about all I could squeeze for now. Now, in this part here, you just saw me laying down the gray flagstone, which is just a short little path from the stairs to the sidewalk. And right now I'm adding in the flowers, which these are marigolds, and I really like the orange color. It pops up against the green in the grass, so it's definitely cute without being too much. And I did turn move objects on because it's easier to do landscaping with that cheat on. So you can sort of overlay the flowers or the bushes into each other. Otherwise, it makes you keep like this weird gap in between them, and it doesn't look too realistic. So right now I'm also just scooting the mailbox and the trash can out just a tiny bit so they're a little bit more balanced on each side. And next I'm going to use the light dirt terrain paint tool to create the illusion of dirt underneath the flowers so it doesn't look like they're just growing straight out of the grass there. And I'm changing the strength of the brush to just a little bit darker so that it shows up well, and just using a little round brush tool. Now right here I noticed that the marigolds aren't up against the deck, so I'm just going to scoot those back a bit so they're further back and we don't have that weird gap of grass in between. And that's pretty much going to be it for landscaping in the front. I believe I add a tree here in a minute, but I didn't want to do anything too overbearing. I mean, I really want to concentrate on the home and the bedrooms and just make it a great family home. And the landscaping is something that you could always add on to if you decide to download the home. So here I am now with that, the light dirt tool, just going through and adding those under the marigolds. Definitely gives it a more realistic look. And right there was giving me a hard time. I'm not sure if it's because I was getting too close to the trash can, but it wasn't letting me put the dirt right there. But I am going to squeeze a little bit behind the trash can as well, just to make it look like, you know, the dirt spilled over back there. Alright, so I think that looks pretty good. I am going to try to put a little tree right over on this side, just because it's sort of an empty gap, and I'm not sure what else would really go nicely there. But this one's definitely too big. It covers up the deck, and this one's definitely too small. So I am in search of the perfect tree just for that little area down there. That one's also way too big, and I don't know, this one's pretty cool. It almost looks like part of the branches are dead, but it fits very nicely in this space, so I think I'm going to go with this one just because it looks good there. just readjusting it a tiny bit. And I am going to go through with the light dirt tool again to create the dirt underneath the tree as well. This one I'm going to use a larger brush, obviously, because I want to do a larger area as quickly as possible. Okay, now, again, since there isn't a whole lot of landscaping, I'm going to experiment with the flower terrain paint tool, which just paints flowers into the grass. But this orange is way too much. It clashes too much with the marigolds. So I'm going to try the yellow ones now. And I think that's just the perfect balance. It looks like there's a little bit of flowers growing in the grass as well, but nothing too crazy. Just sort of sprinkling them on there just so it doesn't look like, plain green grass. And now I'm going to go ahead and change the colors of the windows. I do like the white. The only problem, even though it matches really well, is that it sort of fades into the background of the exterior. I want something to pop a little bit more so it doesn't look so washed out. And I do like the brown, but I didn't initially want to use so much brown in this build. However, using like the yellow and the orange in the windows just didn't look right. It made it look too cartoony, and I want it to look like a real family home. I mean, the orange isn't horrible, but I don't know, it's a little bit much, especially since the railings are sort of that lighter brown color. I think I'm just going to definitely stick with the brown windows as well. But I am experimenting with orange just a little bit to see if that could work, because I do sort of like the way that it picks up from the orange and the marigolds. But ultimately, I just don't think it feels right for this home. Yeah, so here I'm zooming out on that just to get a better look, but I don't know. I still don't like it. I'm glad I go through and changed it to brown. Definitely, that was a good decision. So now this is going to be just kind of the boring part as you watch me go through and change all the windows from white to brown. So while I'm doing that, let's just go ahead and talk about the family. Now we have the mother, whose name is Aurora, and the father, whose name is Russell. And I believe Aurora was a Supernatural fan, and Russell's life goal is to be like a monster hunter or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but they're definitely a cute couple. Aurora's a young hip mom, and they have the 2 daughters that are teenagers. They're not twins, but they are very close in age. And the one girl's name is Carrie, and oh gosh, I'm blanking out on the other one. It started with a C as well, but Carrie and... oh gosh, I can't think of her name, but we'll move on. The youngest son, his name is Ken, and I'm just excited to build a storyline for them so that when I go through and do their bedrooms and the inside of the home, I could definitely play on their personalities. And it's up to you guys if you want to see me actually play the family as a Let's Play. I usually don't do that. I have a few families that I play with regularly, and when I'm building, I'm pretty much just doing it because I like to build. So creating that family just gives me some inspiration. But I do want to do a Let's Play for you guys eventually, so of all the families I'm creating and all the house tours I'll be doing on this channel, your feedback would be greatly appreciated if you could just sort of comment below or hit me up on any of the social medias and let me know which Let's Play you want to see, or should I say which family you want to see. Actually, if you have ideas for Let's Plays too, that would also be great, because I want to make sure that I'm doing something that I enjoy and that you guys enjoy watching. And since a lot of people have sort of moved on to Sims 4 already, I feel like there's so much in Sims 3 that I haven't explored yet, that I haven't done yet, because I've primarily been focusing on building. So I pretty much want to explore all of that before I move on to Sims 4. Even though I do own the game, it is installed, I've just never played it yet. But I did purchase all of the expansion packs, stuff packs, and what's the third one? I'm not sure. They created a third option too that's kind of like in between stuff packs and expansion packs. But anyways, I have all of them purchased currently, everything that's been released so far. So when I do get bored of The Sims 3, I'll definitely move on to that. But for now, there's just so much to still do. I'm still learning, how to do the roofing, and I haven't even explored the terrain tools as far as like creating, hills and different landscaping things like, I can't even think of what I'm trying to say here, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's other tools that I haven't even used yet. So there's so much more to do in The Sims 3, let alone the gameplay, which I haven't done anything with World Adventures yet. I did a short, just personal play with University Life, but that wasn't recorded or anything, and it was pretty short. I didn't get to explore it too much because I was so focused on creating my character. Her name was Miranda. I was so focused on her education that I didn't get to go to very many parties or do the keg stands or go streaking or any of that fun stuff, creating like a social environment for her. So I might actually do some more play with University Life, and of course I will film that if I do, so that you guys can watch. And what else? Island Paradise, I haven't really gotten to explore that one either. If you've been following my channel, you know that I had some laptop problems in the past, and I finally have everything set up, and I have my new laptop again, which is what I'm using to record now. So it should be able to handle Island Paradise. My last computer wouldn't even load the expansion pack. It would just get stuck. If I tried to do anything, it would completely freeze and crash. So I'm excited to be able to hopefully play that expansion pack now with the new, better computer. And what other expansion packs are there? Pets. I've played with pets a little bit. I should probably incorporate those more into my builds because it is going to be fun to add like cat towers and dog beds and food bowls and things like that, just for a visual appeal, and also so that if you download the home, you can include your pets as your family as well. All right, so those windows are finally done. Sorry that took so long. I didn't want to speed up any portion of this build, however, because I want you to see exactly everything that I'm doing. And of course, to change those colors, as you saw, I just dragged the preset from one window to the other and just went all the way around the home. And now it looks like I'm changing the roof color. The brown just seemed a little bit harsh with all the colors that I've been using. And I thought I was going to have to go through and click through a bunch of different roof patterns till I found the color that I liked. But the first one I clicked on happened to be perfect. It meshes well with the color scheme. So here I am looking at the inside of the home and trying to decide, first of all, if all the windows look good from the inside, and also to figure out what the actual layout of the home is going to be. This is definitely a 2-story home because, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room to squeeze 3 or 4 bedrooms down here, plus a kitchen, plus a dining room, plus a living room, plus the hallway, bathrooms. There's just not enough room. So I'm definitely going to utilize that second floor and possibly make it a third floor. It's going to depend. It's going to depend on how much room I have, but I really think that this layout should work out pretty well for the family. So let's start with the most obvious. I mean, that corner right there is perfect for a bedroom. This will probably end up being Ken's room since he is the youngest son. He's definitely going to need his own room. And I'm not sure if the girls are going to share a room yet or if they're each going to get their own individual spaces. I guess it just depends on how close I want to make them. I mean, they could still be super close and have separate bedrooms, but if they're really, really close sisters and best friends, they might want to share a bedroom. So we'll see how that part ends up. But right now, I'm pretty sure that's going to be Ken's room there. Now I need to figure out sort of where the hallway is going to go and where the other bedrooms are going to go. And of course, can't forget the bathrooms. With having 5 people already, 5 Sims starting off in a family, the more bathrooms, the better. So they don't fight, they can take their showers, brush their teeth, use the toilet, everything they have to do before they go to work or school. So definitely going to include as many bathrooms as I can. And while I think about what I'm going to do with that second floor up there, I'm going downstairs now. In my head, I'm sort of thinking, okay, I've got to make room for the hallways. I've got to make room for the staircase. And the staircase is super important because placement is everything. I do end up using a lot of spiral staircases because sometimes they're just an afterthought or they just fit in better. But I'm definitely going to try to put a traditional staircase into this home. But I have to figure out where the hallway is going to go first. The living room's sort of obvious. As soon as you enter there from the front entrance, you're going to go straight into the living room. Some builds, I put a entryway with a little bit of, decor and things like that. Plants, maybe a little console table right before you walk into the home. But for this one, because I already feel like I'm going to be limited on space, you're going to walk straight into the living room. And the room I created on the left there is going to be a dining room. I could do an eat-in kitchen, but again, big family, they're going to need lots of different places to eat and sit down and do homework. So definitely want a separate large-ish dining room for the family. Now I'm back upstairs and just trying to figure out what's going to be what. I do want to split up the room so that the windows don't completely get, I don't want to say distorted. What am I trying to say? I want the windows to be sort of balanced. Like, I wouldn't necessarily cut it so that they're not balanced at least somewhat into the smaller rooms that I create. But that one up there on the right, the little one, is going to be an ensuite bathroom for Ken. And the windows aren't exactly symmetrical in that room, but it's okay because you want more wall space in a bathroom so that you can place your shower, your toilet, and your sink and everything there. And trying to figure out the rest of the layout here. I think the two girls' bedrooms are going to go on the left-hand side, and they're going to share a bathroom, which isn't a big deal. And this sort of middle space I created here is going to be for the staircase. It's probably going to end up being a little bit bigger of a hallway stair entrance than I would like, but I feel like maybe the rooms are a little bit bigger than I thought they would be already. And so I'm splitting this one up for the two girls and just making sure that they're even. I don't want them to fight. Her room's bigger than mine. My sister and I used to fight about that all the time. And just using those walls just to count. So I'm seeing, this is 5 by 6, this one's 5 by 5. So Ken's room is a little bit bigger than the girls' rooms, but he also has like those diagonal walls there, so it cuts off the space a little bit. And he's the youngest, he's allowed to be spoiled, so it's okay that his room's just a tiny bit bigger. But the girls do have a bigger bathroom, so I guess it evens out a bit. And this room down here on the right is going to be the master suite for mom and dad. And the 4 by 3 square up on the right is going to be their ensuite bathroom. And then the little room I just created is going to be the laundry room. I don't always put laundry rooms in builds, but I know that some people do like that feature, so you can always remove it if you don't want it, but if you do want it, it's there for you already. And now's where I'm thinking about the staircase. Where's the staircase gonna go? It's not always easy to figure out a great configuration because you definitely need room to enter the staircase and to exit the staircase, and you kind of don't really want it plopped in the middle of the room unless you're sort of using it as a divider between spaces. And then it has to fit, so pretty sure it's going to go in this general area, but the problem is it's going to totally clip into the living room on the first floor, which is going to remove some usable space, of course. And it looks like the way that I configured it here, it's not quite going to fit anyway. Obviously this part doesn't matter because the staircase can't go there because there isn't a second or third floor on top, but I'm still trying to figure out like where they're going to get on and where they're going to get off. And I don't have many choices. I probably should have put the staircase in first and then built the home around it, which is something I just forget to do. I don't really think of the staircases. I'm more concerned with creating the home and the layout, and totally forget that, yeah, they need a way to get upstairs. So I am going to shorten the dining room a bit, which is okay because, you know, it balances out those 4 windows in the front. You have 2 of them in the living room and 2 of them in the dining room, which eases my OCD a bit. And it's still plenty room to fit a table and chairs in there. So this way we can put the stairs in the living room without it having too much of an impact on how much space is left to build or to put the decor with the couch and TV, maybe a bookshelf. That's usually what I put in the living room. And so far this seems to be the best configuration, but again, it leaves no space. And up here it clips from the hallway into one of the bedrooms, so that layout's not going to work. And since you can't just pick up a staircase like this and move it, I have to delete it and replace it, and sometimes that can be a bit of a pain. With the spiral staircase, you can actually literally grab the object and move it, which makes a huge difference. It's a lot easier to work with. So this is the layout I'm sort of thinking of using for the stairs. If I do this, I might remove the railing because I don't know, I never like the way the railings look on the second floor. But again, looking at it down here from the living room, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It feels like it's just thrown in the middle, like there was no thought at all into placing it into the home. And it creates that extra little space between the front wall and the staircase upstairs, and it's just a waste of space. I mean, there's nothing really you could do there. So I'm turning the configuration of the staircase the other way to see if maybe that makes more sense and fits better. And I also thought of maybe widening it to 2. It'll just make it feel better. It's always good to widen the staircase to 2 anyways, especially if you have toddlers, because they do like to sit at the top of the stairs, of course in the most inconvenient place possible so that your Sims can't get through. And having it be 2 wide instead of 1 wide just gives you a little bit more room to walk around. But ultimately in this home, I decide that is just not going to work. I will go ahead and use the spiral staircase, which I tend to always use, but you can see why. It's just so much easier. It takes up less of a floor print, and you can literally just pick it up and move it 1 square over, 1 square back if it isn't really placed where you want it. And by tucking it into the corner down here, it almost takes up no room in the living room. I don't think it's going to be too noticeable there. But I am taking the move objects on cheat off to make sure that where I place the staircase, it's going to be usable by the Sims. And by putting it there in the corner downstairs, it ends up being exactly pretty much in the middle of the second floor. So that works. I finally found a configuration for the staircase that makes sense and that, you know, doesn't completely overwhelm the area. So it's tucked away nicely in that corner there. I still have plenty of room to build the living room around it. And it leads up to that big hallway upstairs, which is a great place to add, I don't know, maybe some bookshelves. Definitely put some paintings on the wall. It's big enough that I can do something with it without completely wasting the space. So we'll see what that ends up being when I get to that part. And now that I have the general layout of the home, what I'm doing, which I always do, especially in a build that's, you know, decent sized, is I go through and just pick random objects to sort of distinguish what room is going to be what. These are just markers. They're probably not going to end up staying here. Probably end up using a different couch, possibly even in a different location. But this just helps me remember what room is which, and just sort of gives me a good visualization of how big the room is. Because sometimes when you're building, it seems like, okay, this room is going to be gigantic, and then you start placing items in there, and you're like, wait a minute, this is a tight fit. Or other times, like in that master bedroom, you say, oh yeah, this is a good size for a bedroom. But once you start building and decorating, you realize, well, this is way too much space. So I can already tell that room's going to be a little bit big, but you know, that helps me think about maybe I'll add a closet, maybe I'll add a reading area, just sort of, you know, helps me figure out what's going to go where. And right there, I extended the laundry room and bathroom just a tiny bit because it feels like this entryway from the master bedroom into the master bathroom is a little bit tight. And that sort of sharp corner here isn't really visually appealing, and it's definitely going to cut into the floor space of the bathroom. So I am going to end up changing that. But until then, you know, just putting the bathtub there to signify that's a bathroom, putting the washer and dryer in the laundry room, so I remember that's a laundry room and not a closet. Especially if I take time in between my builds, it helps me really pick up right where I left off. And the kitchen, you know, I'm going to place a little fridge in here just to remember it's a kitchen. I do also realize that there's probably going to have to be a back door coming out of the kitchen into the backyard, so I'll worry about that a little bit later. But right now, putting that dining room table in there, and I was worried that was going to be a tight squeeze. It still looks like a tight squeeze, but I should be able to fit chairs around it, and hopefully the Sims can still walk through and sit down without any issues. So now I'm going upstairs and doing the same thing. I'm going to place a bed in each of the bedrooms. Again, these probably aren't going to be the beds that end up staying in here. And going to put bathtubs into the bathrooms. Now, I think the bathrooms are a pretty good size. It should be plenty of space to add counters and maybe a tub shower combo, which is great for kids and teenagers because you never know if they're going to be in the mood for a shower or a bath. A bath takes a little bit longer, and so it's good to have that shower option so they could quickly get ready before going to school in the morning. All right, so let's see, back down to the second floor here. I'm entering a cheat. Oh, okay, I'm going into buy debug mode, and if you've seen any of my videos, you already know. So basically, buy debug is an extra secret menu that's hidden from us as players of the game, but was probably created by the Sims team so that they can, you know, test things out, make sure everything works, and have their own special building materials that we're not necessarily meant to play with. But by entering this cheat, it unlocks this menu for us. So we get billboards and rocks and, you know, coral from under the water and things that you can use that you're not meant to use. But my favorite object is these ceiling lights. And there are different sizes and configurations of them. There's wall lights too. But I usually go with the 2x2 because they just kind of fit everywhere perfectly. And the cool thing about these lights are that they are invisible in live mode. So you see them now, they're great for building. They are set at a bright intensity so you can see what you're doing. Everything is nice and bright. And then when you go into live mode, they disappear. You don't see the square, but you still get the lighting from it, which is amazing. I love these so much. They're definitely probably my favorite object in the entire game, especially when it comes to building. And the only, I don't know if you would call it an issue, but the only problem with these lights is once you are in live mode, you can't click on them to turn them on and off or to change their color or to change their intensity. So I only recently started doing this, but I make sure to include an actual lighting fixture in each room so that when you click on that and you can click, you know, dim all lights, turn off all lights, whatever, it'll affect the square lights as well. So you can still control them sort of. And I also just recently learned this, but you can change the intensity or the color or anything really of the lights in buy or build mode by hitting the shift and control keys on your keyboard if you're on a PC. I'm not sure if it works on Mac as well or if there's a different combination. But yeah, you hit shift and control and then click on the light directly and it gives you that menu that you also get in live mode. So even though these square lights are amazingly bright, I did notice a lot that they tend to change the coloring on certain objects, especially if it's a lighter color like a white or a reflective material. It just makes them too intense and too bright. So I can change that intensity from bright to normal, and they're even more perfect. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about these lights other than they're amazing. And you can still see what I'm building through them. You know, it can be a little bit of a nuisance sometimes, but it's so much better than putting a bulky light fixture in there for sure. So let's see, now I'm going to work on the doorways, entranceways, archways, etc. I do like to do those towards the beginning of the build. I can't tell you how many times I've built a home and forgot to include a doorway, and then everything's perfectly laid out, perfectly configured, and you can't get in the room. So I have to rearrange everything to put them in a place that's usable and in a place that's sort of balanced, and it becomes a huge nightmare. So I try to actually go through and do this while I'm building the layout so I don't forget, and every room has a way in and a way out. Nobody's getting trapped anywhere. But this archway here fits pretty well, actually. I didn't have to play around with that too much. It's even on both sides, and it's wide enough to give sort of a grand appearance without looking like too fancy. It's just a nice little entryway there. And I thought about putting it in between the living room and dining room, but again, that's going to take away more space, especially in the small dining room. So I'm going to keep that where you have to enter the dining room from the kitchen, which isn't a big deal at all. And the bathroom here, yeah, I mentioned earlier that little corner was just bothering me. I'm going to play around with a few different configurations here to figure out the best way into the bathroom. I did think about just leaving it open completely, but I definitely want a door there. So this is just the opposite. I made the corner poke into the bedroom instead of the bathroom, and it still looks a bit funny. So I am putting a diagonal wall here, and I can't remember if a door can go on that or not. But I do find out that yes, it can. So that's perfect. It just takes an even amount of space away from each of the rooms and is visually more appealing. And there goes the door. It fits right there. I just picked sort of a plain door. I do try to use the same door throughout all of the rooms so that the house just looks more consistent. And even though that bedroom would be perfect to put a nice big double door there, I decided that since that was one tile and it just sort of fits in between the 3 tiles of the archway, it's balanced, it's even, and I like it. And the archway fits perfect into the dining room entrance as well. So I don't know, just the first choices I picked there happen to work. That doesn't always work. Sometimes I play around with them quite a bit, but this home's seeming to come together nicely for me. I am taking the color of the doorway though and just moving that onto the arch. That way it looks more cohesive, like it was all built at the same time using, the same woods or the same paints. And doing the same thing onto the archway through the dining room as well. So yeah, this home is really starting to come together. I'm getting a good feeling of, how things are going to look when I'm done. Definitely have a good feeling of the layout now. I don't think much is going to change, if anything at all. The rooms seem to be proportioned pretty well. The doors seem to be placed in decent areas. And we don't need a door going into the bathroom because that's just the private master bedroom ensuite. So that just gives us a little bit more room in the hallway to put maybe some mirrors or some art on the wall. And now I'm going up to the second story and doing the doors here as well. So this is the one going into Ken's room, and his bathroom is his own personal ensuite, so he's going to have his own door going into that one directly. And the girls are going to have to share that bathroom, as I mentioned earlier. So since there isn't a real way for both of them to easily get into it from their bedrooms, I'm just going to put that door directly on the hallway so they can share it without having to go through each other's rooms. And I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to place that. Probably right there because it gives me more room to lay out counters and stuff, because again, the wall space is super important in the bathrooms because pretty much everything has to go flat against a wall. And by putting those 2 doors there, even though they go into separate rooms, facing each other that way almost makes them look like they're a double door. And I thought that was a really cute touch there. So I'm just zooming around now, making sure everything is in place, making sure I didn't miss anything important. Just sort of laying it out so that I can go through and do the decor in the next video and not have to worry too much about what's going to go where. It's pretty much laid out for me already. So now that the inside's looking good, I'm moving on to the backyard. And again, as I mentioned earlier, gonna have to put some sort of door from the kitchen into the bathroom. So I'm sorry, from the kitchen into the backyard so that they can go outside and, you know, have a barbecue, use the pool. I'm probably gonna put a pool, do some gardening, you know, just hang out, have a place to hang out and have fun because that front yard is too small, of course. So I'm checking out what I did for the flooring and for the railings, and I'm just going to copy those over to the backyard just so that everything matches well and looks cohesive. So the railings are now going around the deck, and I kept it 3 tiles wide just to keep it consistent with the front one. Again, that's a good amount of space because you can fit a table and chairs or something small, but it's not completely overwhelming. And here I am copying the staircase from the front to the back as well. Since it was 4 wide in the front, I just switched that toolbar down to 2 wide. It kept the same color, the same staircase, and just shortened it up a bit so it fits there. And now that I'm putting the sliding door, here we go with my OCD. The door is not directly in front of the staircase, so you know what I'm going to do? Yeah, I'm going to change that. But before I change that, I'm going to copy the color scheme from the windows to the door. Everything matches nice now. Oh, I just realized I accidentally left the inside of that door white. And now that I'm looking at some of the windows on the left there, I'm going to have to change that hopefully in one of these next videos. I don't forget to do it. But yeah, I left some white in there on accident. I'm sure I'll realize that later. I hope I realize that later. If not, I'm sure you guys will yell at me in the comments. But yeah, I wasn't too thorough there, was I? Yeah, I definitely, here I am moving the staircase to the left a little bit because that just didn't work for me. So now the staircase is directly in front of the doors. The door is 2 spaces wide, the staircase is 2 wide, and I'm happy. But going back and putting that rail back in there, since I split it and deleted it and put it back in, it created that extra column. So I'm just deleting the entire rail and replacing it on that side so that it is one cohesive unit. And if you don't know already, with walls and with railings / fences, you can hit the control button and go over them and it deletes them, and then let go of the control button and it builds them. So that's much easier than having to use the hammer tool, especially for me, because when I do use the hammer tool on things like railings and walls, I always accidentally delete the floor or the roof and then have to go back and refix it and blah, blah, blah. It's just so much easier to use the control key to delete the fences and the walls pretty easily. So, all right, the back, there's still obviously a lot more that needs to be done back there. But for now, just doing a few quick touches. Oh man, those windows are bothering me now. I don't know how I didn't catch it. Those windows are really bothering me now. Not sure what I'm doing here. I guess I'm just looking at everything, looking over everything to make sure it looks good. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my rambling. But I will see you guys in the next video once everything is complete. Download links will be provided in the description so that you can download the home and the family and play. And if you want to make sure to not miss part 3, or I guess part 4, sorry, I can't remember which part this is, but if you don't want to miss the next part or the final videos, hit that subscribe button and you'll be able to find me easily later on. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.